Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Founders Show, where we talk to fascinating founders of technology companies who are really out there doing interesting things, changing the way we work, the way we live, the way we learn, the way we play. So we're real excited to dive into another conversation this week. But before we do that, Andy, how's it going? Anything exciting happening today?
Oh, today's a great day here in Cleveland, of course. I'm a little tired, but that's okay because I think that's a perfect segue into who we're talking to today.
Yep. And the reason I asked is because I had heard, I know you're not a big Facebook guy and you're not on there, but I recently saw something saying that it's your birthday. So I just wanted to say happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm 1 year older today. just exactly what I want to talk about.
All right. So with that embarrassing moment, putting you on the spot here out of the way, we'll go ahead and bring on. So today's guest, really excited about these guests, but I will tell you, we're talking about the founders from AcousticSheep LLC. So it's Dr. Wei-Shin Lai and Jason Wolfe. And AcousticSheep was founded in 2007 by Dr. Lai, a family physician, and her husband, Jason, who's a video game developer. Dr. Lai struggled with getting back to sleep after patient phone calls in the middle of the night. She needed to listen to some relaxing music to help her sleep. But her headphones, they were bulky, the earbuds were uncomfortable. And since there were no headphones specifically designed for sleeping on the market, guess what? They went ahead and invented their own. So, hey guys, welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Awesome. So nice to have you guys on. So hopefully I told a little bit of the story there, but I think to get started, tell us more. How did this come about, and tell us about the product, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So as you get older, you really need a lot more sleep, or you feel it when you don't get enough sleep, right? So yeah, we started this because I had just gotten out of residency. I was in family practice. Every fourth night I would be on call, and then in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., I'd get a call about something, and I'd be wide awake thinking about it, and then checking the computer and whatnot, and then I wouldn't be able to get back to sleep. So I was complaining to Jason about it, and he's like, well, why don't you listen to some relaxing music? And I was like, okay, yeah, but like you're asleep. So
yeah, we didn't want to involve bugging me in this.
So we looked around for headphones that I could wear in bed, and there really wasn't anything at all on the market in 2007. And so yeah, headphones are, you can't turn, can't sleep on your side, and then the earbuds just hurt my ears. So we came up with the idea of putting really, really thin speakers inside of a headband. So these are our thin speakers, and they're actually flexible. And then here's the headband. And so then you just put this on, and then you can listen to relaxing music all night long,
and you barely know they're there.
Yeah. And so we sat down one night at our kitchen table. Jason had bought some speakers and like wires and things like that, and we were just fiddling around with fabric, trying to come up with some soft solution.
We created an entire market category. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In 2007, you would have thought that somebody would have invented this already, but it's a niche. Everybody sleeps. 100% of people sleep, and 30% of us don't sleep well. So it was a huge market niche that just really needed a product.
We were quite surprised that there wasn't something already.
Yeah.
I love it. I do that. I get up in the middle of the night, have an idea, and then, typically write it down next to my phone, but then going back to sleep so hard. So, I mean, I love the idea of getting back in that, mindset with some music. I'm kind of curious. You just mentioned sitting at your table, dabbling with wires and things. Can you tell me more about the invention process, how you made this happen and brought this to life?
Sure. So initially we kind of had the idea of just soft fabric, like regular headphones.
Over the top, yeah.
Yeah, but really, really thin. That's kind of the point, and it had to stay on so that you can turn on your side. And so we had some, I guess, memory wire, and so we were bending this stuff
Trying to create a frame that would hold its shape, but ultimately it just wasn't satisfying. It wasn't going to stay in frame.
Yeah, it didn't stay on, but it was thin, so you can sleep on your side comfortably. And so that's kind of when we realized, okay, we need it to be thin, and we need it to be flexible, but it needed to stay on somehow. And so finally, after a few different tries of the regular headphone idea, we came up with the headband idea, because that stays on pretty well. You have to actually have just the right fabric. We had to experiment with all kinds of fabric in order to get the one that would actually stay on your head and be cool, moisture wicking, and be stretchy enough, like all of the criteria to be comfortable.
We went through a lot of iterations, just different approaches, right? Initially, we had the wire coming out the forehead, which I still think was pretty cool because it didn't interrupt the back of your head. But nobody got it. People would wear it backwards.
We get pictures all the time of people wearing it backwards and be like, no. But so yeah, eventually we're like, okay.
It was the right decision.
Yeah, we have to put the tag in the back as well as the wire, because that's just kind of what people are thinking. So yeah, we're up to version 7 now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Official version 7, right?
Yeah,
with many experiments.
Right. Yeah. Version 2 failed miserably. That was really quick. So was version 3.
I'm always curious for folks that are creating a physical product. How did you have to go out to another firm and get them to help you invent, or did you do it all at your kitchen table?
So headphones are not that difficult. They're speaker. Yeah. It's a speaker. And so we can't make the speakers ourselves. We have to buy those, right? So we get the speaker, and then we got some wire, and he actually, like the two of us, he soldered the first 500 pieces.
Wow.
And I sewed the first 500 pieces. So
wow.
It took over an hour each. And so we just, we had day jobs, but
those are good times.
Yeah. It was, it was a big kitchen table. We had a roommate, and we'd watch TV, and he'd solder and I'd sew, and at the kitchen table, and every night, and that was kind of our thing.
What we did have to do is we would go to, or at least have samples back and forth with various factories, and it was an iterative process in its own, getting exactly the speakers we wanted and exactly the sound we wanted out of them. And even the plugs, the jacks, the plugs.
Yeah. Right. Do you do a straight plug or an angled plug, and different, I guess the plastic, rubbery plastic that the plugs use. And then the wire itself, it used to be just a normal, rubbery kind of a material. And now we figured that the fabric wrapped around that is that much stronger and nicer.
It fails far less often now after a lot of different experiments.
Yeah.
That is such a cool story that you guys were sewing and soldering together at nights.
And shipping. And
yeah. So we did all of that. We did for the first year. That's what we did. We're bootstrapped. Started on the kitchen table. Really, very, very little investment. We go to Joann Fabrics when the fabric was on sale, and buy out their entire stock of fleece fabric.
And we'd have gone anyway.
Right.
It was good.
And then and then we outgrew that. We started hiring some people through Craigslist, of all places. We posted, hey, can you do some contracting work on the side? We just need you to do this portion of the process for us. And they would say, okay, yes. And then so they would, get the materials, and then they'd sew or solder or whatever it is that they needed to do, bring it back, and then we, kind of move it down the assembly line from person to person.
Wow.
That was a great relief for a while there.
Yeah. And they were working out of their home and everything, and doing just contract piecework. And then after that, we outgrew that eventually, and worked with a firm in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, that did a lot of sewing, stuff like that. So we worked with them, and then eventually we got so big that we really had to look overseas to be competitive from a pricing perspective, and just from a quality control and long-term sustainability.
We kept it in the States as long as we could.
Yeah.
I'd be curious, just to back up just a touch. When you guys had this idea, you started tinkering around, when did you make the decision that, like, hey, we have something, there's nothing really in the market like it, and people need this, and say, we're going to go with this, take this product to market? Like, what was the timing like, and when did you make that decision?
We saw just the popularity of the thing and the demand that was out there pretty quickly, but it just wasn't our style to move to it full time. So we kept our full-time jobs for a long time.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst for that?
Well, I think, first it was where we had, I was seeing patients, and the patients were telling me that they were having trouble sleeping. And, I would be prescribing sleeping pills that I knew were not, healthy and were potentially addictive and all that kind of stuff. And so, I didn't actually pitch any of my patients because I feel like that would be a conflict of interest. But we did just put this out on the internet and see what happened. And what did happen was that people were like searching for SleepPhones. So we did not advertise in the very beginning because we were just, we had just set up the website and we're still populating it. We didn't even really have a product. We had a picture, some verbiage, and a contact email address. And then all of a sudden I got an email from somebody. He's like, hey, how can I buy this? I'm like, how did you even find this? And he said, I literally just typed in SleepPhones because it made sense that this would be, the name of the product that I wanted and needed.
We planned that name well.
Apparently. And so yeah, he was a lawyer out of New Jersey. So I was like, okay, well, how big's your head? So we sewed one custom for him, sent it off. And then the orders, we set it up, like a checkout process. And then the orders started coming in, and we just, had to keep shipping and sewing, soldering, shipping, and all of that. And then we get the testimonials coming back. So one nurse in Canada said that she was able to come off as sleeping pills after taking them for 10 years. And then another lady said that it saved her marriage because her husband snored so bad. And this was a way to kind of block that out. So that's when we realized that, this is bigger than I would have ever thought. Because I initially thought it would be something just for insomnia, really. But then the testimonials came in, and like there was this problem and that problem and tinnitus and restless legs and, like the list goes on, and then people just want to listen to audiobooks or podcasts in bed. And so yeah, that's kind of what kept us going over the years. I think another turning point in our development and growth was when we hit $1 million in sales. This was about 5 years in. And, when we drew up our initial business plan, we're like, oh, yeah, $1 million in 5 years.
You were right. It seemed a little
that it was a total like moonshot kind of a thing that, you have to write something down in your business plan. So that's what we wrote. And
it's quite a projection for that.
Yeah, but we actually made it. Right? Yeah. And so that's when we decided to transition out of our day jobs and work on this full time.
Here we have a doctor who's gone to a lot of trouble not to prescribe pills as often. Put a lot of effort into.
How was that transition for you from going, to this being the full-time, endeavor for you? I don't know. What was that like for you, both emotionally, mentally, and exciting?
Exciting.
Yeah, I think since we both had decent jobs that we enjoyed and did well at and made good money at, we didn't want to quit our day jobs before we knew that this could kind of support our lifestyle. And so that's why I guess it took so long for us to be like, oh, okay, all right, this is going to be bigger than, you know, us working our day jobs for the next however many years. So, and this is really, you know, when we help people sleep, and we sell like 100 of these a day or more than that now, you know, each one of those people are going to have a better life. You know, they're going to be sleeping better, and then the next day they're going to be functioning so much better, have more patience for their kids, and be more awake for their jobs, and just do a better job productivity wise, and like et cetera, et cetera. It's improving so many people's lives. And as a doctor, that's really important for me, because I don't want to, like, you know, change my profession and not continue to help people. And so with this, it felt like a natural thing. It was almost like it was an imperative.
Kind of felt like an obligation. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, not in a negative way. It just felt like something that if we didn't take it seriously, we'd be letting folks down.
Now, is there anything that you did in the early, you know, years of the business that really changed the trajectory of growth, that, like, you know, really increased sales? Anything you did from like either a marketing perspective or just the way that you went out with the product?
You know, clearly creating the website was essential, but also quite an inflection point, right? That's probably the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Going to shows.
Yeah. CES, that was a big inflection point. So yeah, about 5 years in, when we had made that $1 million in sales, we were like, okay, we need to take this seriously. Let's go to our first like big major international trade show. So we went to the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, and we had won one of the awards for the show.
That was big.
Yeah, and like we had 6 people at the booth. We could not leave.
We were swamped. That tells you something.
Yeah. Like we were the busiest people in our section, in our area. Like we can look down the aisle, but we couldn't actually leave our booth because we were so busy. But yeah, we were super excited, and you know, all these people are coming to us. We had 3 distributors from the UAE trying to get us to sign on the dotted line. We're like, we don't even have international distribution yet. Like, we don't know what we're doing. We don't have paperwork.
Just how to pick which one, you know, how to do due diligence on that.
But yeah, CES was a big inflection point. And it was pretty much right after that show that we're like, okay, let's get a warehouse, because our house is like our garage and basement, and every single room in our house has product. We need to like move out.
It looked like the last scene in an Indiana Jones movie. With crates, right?
And now it sounds like you completely bootstrapped it and didn't take any funding. Is that right?
That's right.
Now, would you go back and do it any differently, or is bootstrapping what you always wanted to do and kind of build it yourselves?
Yeah, it was kind of a slow burn, right? I mean, if we had come at it with more resources, we could have grown a lot quicker, probably. But we wanted to, you know, retain the control, and you know, we kind of looked at it. We looked at it like we're going to do something for entertainment anyway. You know, we're like, I was
hobby or something.
The lights are on in the basement for, you know, they're going to be on for, it's like a business cost, but why not? Why not use it to get something done, right? And
right.
It was fun. It was fun.
I'd be curious, just because there's, you know, such a need for this. What does the competitive landscape look like today? I would imagine there's copycats out there, and how do you guys stay ahead of that curve?
We definitely have some copycats, and actually CES kind of induced a lot of copycats, I think. So that's kind of one drawback of getting yourself out there and having the world see you, is that they're like, oh, that's a good idea, I'm gonna do that. But we have a really good relationship with our factories, and so we don't have like any compatible or competitive, really truly competitive knockoffs out there, because all the copycats, they use far inferior fabric, inferior speakers. They don't spend the time to like sew the speakers, because that's cost, right?
It's either that, or we've been very obsessive about the level of quality, right?
Right, I guess, yeah. So we've maintained the highest quality, and we've also continued to innovate. And so we came out with the wireless. And then effortless. Effortless is not only is it wireless like Bluetooth, but it also has induction charging. So it charges wirelessly, which of course you all know, but just to make that clear. So yeah, it's double wireless.
It was still kind of a novel thing when we came out with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, induction charging is so convenient, and you don't have to like plug anything in. You just put the headphones on a surface and it charges, and that's kind of
It's
so
effortless. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have a TV version, and we also have one that has built-in music. We call that the version for your grandma, because like, for the tech phobic who don't have,
Who has a smart device?
yeah,
Almost
doesn't
everybody
have
now, but yeah.
right. But somebody who does not want that smart device and doesn't know how to hook it up to a playlist or whatever, they just push a button and it plays exactly at the same volume, the exact same song every night. They can change it, but like if they want to just keep it really simple, it can be really, really simple.
It's all on your head.
Yeah. Now, did you patent anything?
We did. Yeah,
Okay.
a few different things. So just the concept of the wireless sleep phones, and then how the wireless comes together, and all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to pay the lawyers to enforce all of that. So we really try to protect our trademark, and we do protect our patent, but it is expensive.
Yeah, I was going to ask kind of more detail around that, because I think that's a daunting, aspect of this for any, inventor, someone that's got an idea and they're trying to create a product. Is, what do I do from a legal side? And obviously, you guys didn't necessarily have the legal background, so I'm curious your perspective of how you looked at it when you first started and how it's kind of evolved for you, the legal side of invention.
Wow. We talked to a lot of advisors on that. A lot.
We were always told, just view it as flattery.
Oh, yeah.
not cutting it. It's not flattery. We don't like it.
Yeah, I bet. What?
Yeah.
How early on did you look into to that type of aspect of it, as the patents and the trademarks?
Oh, immediately.
We were working with some great IP lawyers on another project. So yeah, very, very soon.
Yeah.
As soon as it came out, we basically patented it. And patents, the provisional patent is not as expensive, and it gets you in the books. And then, like, if you actually do have a viable product, then you have a year to apply for the full patent, which is slightly pricier. But it's that entire patent process. So they say it's $20,000 for a patent. You don't have to pay that up front, right?
Right.
It's spread out over time.
But you do have to pay it.
Yeah. So yeah, get the provisional if you think you might have something. Do it through a lawyer. Don't just write it yourself or something. It's not,
because it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard to differentiate from stuff that's out there already. It's hard to see what.
But you can write a lot of it and give it to the lawyer, and then it would be cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, along those lines, you had mentioned about other advisors, and we always talk on this show with founders about their mentors and who helps them. So what kind of people have you had over the years that have, I guess, advised you, helped you through bringing this to life?
We resolved ourselves from the start to always approach this as students and to find just as many mentors as we could, and then talk to as many different folks who were available as we could. You probably have a comprehensive list.
So we started with the local small business development center, and I think that's a good place for anybody to start, just to have a sounding board to bounce ideas and make sure that it is something that is viable.
It's very useful.
Yeah, and it's free, right? That's the best part of it, is that it's sponsored by the government, and they're going to connect you to all of the government resources that help small businesses start up, because that's part of the role of government in some ways, is to drive innovation and to drive business and commerce, and so this is something that the Small Business Development Center did.
And free is key when you're starting out, when you don't know if there's going to be much return on this thing, right? So
yeah, we also worked with SCORE for a little bit there too, and you have to figure out what your advisor is good at, and what they can advise you on, and where they might be lacking,
and they don't always know either, right?
Exactly. And so and I guess my advice on working with advisors as an advisor is to take everything with a grain of salt, because there are, we've had multiple advisors over the years, some from the government, some from state government, and then some from in the tech industry, or from sales or marketing and finance, and all different advisors, and some of them are pretty narrow, and they might know that area pretty well, but if you try to ask them questions about other areas, they may give you a really confident sounding answer, but you may actually know better.
Yeah.
You can't abdicate that responsibility no matter what.
Yeah, it's your company.
Yeah, I think that's great, because I do think a lot of founders get so much advice. Even I'm sure you probably had it, the family and friends advice where we've got this great idea, and they go, "Well, you should do this." And so, I mean, you get so much, and it really is, you are the owner and you have to make the decisions, right?
Yeah, you have to say no to a lot of things. I think for us, it wasn't as big of a problem saying no, because I've always said no. So I'm kind of a rebel in some ways.
And there's always voices that are kind of discouraging too, that you have to tune out,
right,
to get anything accomplished.
Yeah.
Did you get any real crazy ideas? Like someone said, make them for kids and put bunny ears on them, or anything crazy over the years you think of?
That's not too crazy. Yeah. But actually, with the kids, we safety really does come first for us, and so the volume level has to be decent for kids. We can't be blasting into their ears, and then young kids, we really have to be careful with any kind of headwear that may result in, I don't know, something bad happening to them if they get stuck. Right.
Yeah, we never ruled out that demographic, but we always knew that we wanted to approach it very cautiously.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got 2 kids, so they're young, and we're very cautious with them.
So just to shift gears a little bit, I would love to hear a bit about how your roles, like how do you split responsibilities as co-founders in the business, and then also after that, just like to hear more about what the team looks like today.
Yeah, wow. We have a pretty natural split, right? You do a lot of the executive stuff, and I keep a lot of the systems running and build new things. It's all about supporting our people, right?
Right. Yeah. So we are actually we have the same values, and so that's why we married each other. I mean, like all of that's okay, and we work well together. But we actually think very differently. Like we approach a problem from very different angles, and I think it is important, if you are seeking out a partner, to have somebody who doesn't just agree with you on everything, but like has a different view. But as long as you have the same values and goals and things like that, then you should be aligned, really, ultimately. But like I am more of the taskmaster. I am focused on what's going to happen in the next few minutes, next few days, weeks, things like that. I plan things out, and I I make checklists and all that kind of stuff, right? And I think, like, whenever I talk about something, I'm like, okay, so this needs to happen tomorrow. And then he's like, well, what about like that thing that happened, like, I don't know, 10 years ago? And then like 2 years ago, this happened. And we have to also think about, like, 5 years from now, what that's going to look like. And I'm just like, why does that matter? But then I'm like, okay, yeah, it matters.
Sometimes.
So it takes some collaboration there.
How have you built the culture in the company and like found the right people and get everybody excited about the business?
Yeah, we're so proud of that, and things have, things have changed a lot in the last year. So we've drifted a bit from our vision. I think I can't wait to get a little tighter, right? But
Yeah.
what would you say to that?
Well, I think over the years, we've definitely honed in on how we do things. In the beginning, it was really family style kind of stuff, like, oh, hey, we need more Packers this weekend. Just get your softball team to come over and like help us put this stuff together for this big shipment that's going out, right? But nowadays it's much more structured. We have about 20 employees. We like to hire interns. From the local schools, because then we really get to suss out like how they work and what they're capable of, and if they're good, we keep them. And that's kind of one way that we've grown our group of employees. And I think, being in Erie, Pennsylvania, we're considered a Rust Belt city, and people have kind of a factory assembly work mentality, somebody with a whip telling them, if you don't get this done, you're going to be fired or whatever. I don't know.
We don't do that. We make a point of not doing that.
Yeah, we do a little bit more of a West Coast approach. And, that's the kind of HR that we read about and follow and try to.
We encourage folks to be a little more independent.
Right. Yeah. And, we want to be a little bit more fun about it, and more encouraging rather than a fear-based model.
Less draconian. Mm-hmm. And it's working. It's still working. I kind of miss having everybody there, together for that, to get those thoughts going.
How did COVID impact you guys?
Just like that.
So yeah, I mean, we all had to go home, right? Most of the people who worked in the offices had to go home. So we do all of the marketing, sales, administration, shipping, packing, light assembly, quality control, all of that kind of stuff here in Erie, Pennsylvania, at our headquarters. We oversee the entire process. So, like, if you're calling customer service, you're calling Erie, Pennsylvania, right? And I guess some of it was considered essential services in the beginning because we were e-commerce. So we were able to keep like one person shipping, at the beginning of the pandemic. And then since I'm a doctor, and I actually have a bit of a background in epidemiology because I wanted to be an Ebola researcher at one point in my life. And I almost got a job at the CDC. So anyway, I set out a plan to cohort all of the employees that were essential and keep them working, but separated in 2 different shifts so that we always had at least one shift that could ship in case the other shift had to quarantine for whatever reason. And then all of the office people were at home. And at this point, we've got one person in the office at a time. So we got different rooms. So we could have one person per room at a time. And that's, nobody's caught the virus at work. We've been able to keep everybody safe at work anyway. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that. And we're starting to slowly bring people back because the local case count is really low. And so I feel pretty good about that. And a lot of our employees are vaccinated as well. So yeah, it's actually been okay. As far as the pandemic and how it's affected sales.
It's going to be my next question.
Yeah. So see this thing? The beard.
It's been a while, huh?
Yeah.
You grew that just in the last year, I bet, over the pandemic, right?
Last 11 months or so, yeah.
At the beginning of the pandemic, when we were all told to sew our own face masks at home, right? There were a lot of people searching online for face mask ideas. And what we did was, what I did was like, well, I know what's comfortable in surgery, how to wear a face mask for 8 hours, and how to keep it on and keep your glasses from fogging up, and what to do with facial hair and all that kind of stuff. And so I actually wrote out a plan, like the most comfortable face mask, right, that you can sew at home, DIY kind of stuff.
Which everybody did.
Yeah.
But
and so the keywords were like glasses fogging up and beards, men with beards. And it turned out that we ranked #1 on Google for face masks for men with beards. And we quadrupled the traffic to our website from that one post.
Wow.
And that one, minor concept that differentiated.
Yeah. And it increased our sales because people are coming to our website.
The power of content marketing.
That really is. Did you? I'm kind of curious. You touched on this. There's so many different uses or use cases and that people have. Did you target anything in the beginning, like people with a certain issue, like you mentioned, restless leg syndrome or snoring husband syndrome, whatever it might be? But did you target anything in the beginning and say we really want to get people that have this kind of challenge, or did you just leave it open?
For a long time, just the basic trying to deal with insomnia was plenty to keep us busy, right, and plenty to bring a lot of interest.
Yeah,
it evolved a bit over time, but yeah, for a long time, that's all we need to talk about.
Yeah, we call it secondhand snoring.
That too. Well, and that was the process of narrowing it a bit, right? Where we went after snoring.
Not the best keyword, honestly. It's funny, but it doesn't work as a keyword.
It looked great on a poster.
Right? Yeah, it's funny.
I would be curious, guys, to hear how the process of getting customer feedback has changed, and how you've then taken that and incorporated into, improvements that you made or new products.
We sell enough of them that really the reviews that people just automatically write, whether it be on Amazon or on our own website or communicating to us through social media tools, messages and stuff like that. All of that comes through customer service and marketing. And then we actually have an internal system where we keep track of these types of things. And so the more important ones that should be seen get sent to a channel, I guess is what we call it. And then the two of us, regularly review all of these ideas and
help to craft that messaging just a bit about what we're going to say for each case.
Right. Yeah. And really, and to continue to improve our products over time. So yeah, one of the complaints that we had was, it's kind of a pain to charge every day. And so we've increased battery life so that you don't necessarily have to charge it every day. And we've made it easier to charge.
We've made it effortless.
Right. All that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Very cool.
That's pretty cool. How do you plan the future of the product? Is it something that you're thinking about 3 years into the future? Is it, a little bit shorter of a time frame? How do you think to the future?
So sometimes it takes us longer to bring out things we want because of supply chains and stuff and such.
Lately, yeah. But we keep up with the latest technology, what's out there. So we're always using the latest battery for the longest battery life, highest quality, and then knitting for the fabric itself. Working with the foremost knitters, fabric knitters, so that we always get the best fabric. With some of the newest tech that's built into the kind of stretchiness and stuff like that. There's actually a lot of tech in fabric now incorporated in the way that fabric is made and stuff like that. So anyway, there's that kind of stuff. So we're always using the latest materials that are out there. And so, we're waiting for the next Bluetooth. We've got Bluetooth 5.0 now. Etc. So just kind of keeping up with some of the obvious things, Qi charging for the induction wireless charging. But now, the big thing is artificial intelligence, right? So I'll let you talk about that.
Well, we have kind of an ongoing, very ongoing process of just discussing new features and just back and forth among ourselves, right? And then that kind of, we incorporate our suppliers in that at the right time, right? And just quite organically, the next thing to do just kind of rises to the top, and we tackle it one at a time. So.
Yeah, because I'm curious, and you have Apple that's got a full research and development department, versus a small company. How are you doing that? Like, how often are you spending time on it? And do you have to force yourself versus some of these big companies that have people that's their dedicated role?
It's funny how big companies just don't take the same kind of risks. Like we'll try something, a little off the wall here and there that I think a larger company just might not be incented to do.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I think the best products is start out as like a labor of love. It's like somebody works at it and just devotes far more energy into it than would make any sense in a corporate in a larger environment, right? And somehow it happens to pay off, and then really takes off.
So sometimes consensus isn't necessarily best, right? You need a person who knows what they need, and to if you ask any larger company, they're not going to come out with sleep headphones. It's such a small niche, right? And most 2/3 of people don't have trouble sleeping, and so we took these to trade shows after trade shows, and we talked to people, and like people would give us weird looks. They'd be like, "This is stupid. Why would anybody need this? I wouldn't pay this much for this." But then you get the other third of people that are like, "Oh my God, I've been looking for this. Like, this is so wonderful. This is the best thing ever. I'm so glad you invented it," and all this stuff, right? And so in a big company, when you have to come to a consensus, the 75% of people who don't need this product are not going to vote for it.
We clearly sank a lot of thought into it before we ever saw the return on investment for that thought, right? We were willing to do that because it was a labor of love.
Yeah, and because it was something that we needed ourselves. We're like, okay, it needs to have this feature, and this feature, and then we listened to feedback from our customers saying that, okay, you don't want it to say turn off when it turns off, right? Because that would be stupid. You're already asleep. You don't want, some voice in your head telling you to oh, out of power, shut off, or something like that, right? So different things like that.
It's a different approach.
Yeah. And so, at a big company, it may not be obvious unless you're doing like really expensive testing with focus groups and whatnot. But we don't need a focus group if you know what you're doing, and as far as R&D goes, that's mostly him at this point, because our latest product is based on artificial intelligence. So that's something that he and his team of I guess tech people are.
It's a bit of a departure, and yet dovetails in perfectly well, which is why we're doing it.
Yeah. So we decided to enhance our hardware with some software.
I'd love to hear a little bit about the ASMR edition. My daughter's, she's 11, and she watches the YouTube videos and stuff with ASMR, and I just think that's fascinating. You guys came up with that, and how is that performing?
Yeah, actually, it sells pretty well. I think it was really fun to have worked with all of these up and coming artists, and hopefully we've helped to propel them and help each other, basically propel our platforms. And yeah, I mean that's another example of what a big company would not do. Right? Yeah, like we initially when we learned about he learned about ASMR. And was like, hey, there's this new phenomenon, you gotta know about it. And I was like, it's weird, but okay.
It's something that a lot of our customers are going to care about.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We were pretty proactive about that one.
Right. Yeah. And then I was like, hey, there's this phenomenon. And then my cousin's like, yeah, I listen to ASMR every night. I like dentists. I'm just like, really? Okay. So we rolled with it, and really interesting to have grown with this community over the years. Um, so yeah.
And then I noticed that on your site you've got the SleepPhones sheep. So tell me about the kind of accessories and how you've expanded the product base and all these things that fit together.
She just drew that little guy one day, and then we had to create a physical product around it.
It was really cute. A lot of people were like, "Hey, can I use your logo for something?" I'm like, I don't know. Let me talk to the lawyers about that. And then eventually it just kind of made sense that he was so cute, we had to make him come to life. And one of the earlier visions that we had was that the sheep would deliver the SleepPhones to you. So he actually has a back pocket that opens up. And so then you can put all your little treasures and trinkets and stuff like we had a child too who appreciates this type of thing. And so we figured, we could put our SleepPhones inside. That's where you could store your SleepPhones during the day when you're not using them, so that the cats and the dogs don't tear up the wires, because that's another issue.
That was a huge thing. The cats, especially. Cats.
Right, they chew on the wires. So yeah, that was kind of our idea. There was to have the sheep that would help you with your SleepPhones.
And the drawing was perfect, but it was a testament to the manufacturers we worked with, who just brought that thing to life. I mean, that was perfect.
Yeah, in Vermont. Yeah, they were really good.
That's great. I would like to hear a little bit, Wei-Shin, about your TED Talk. I saw that you did a TED Talk, and I'd love to hear a little bit about what you talked about.
So embarrassed. I don't know. Yeah, just mostly about going for what you want to do, and
it was well received.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
So speaking of going for what you want to do, one thing I do like to always ask about is looking backwards. Like, if you could go back in time and give yourself advice about, and I always ask the question, if you went back to when you very first started the company and had coffee with yourself, what advice would you give? And so, what would you say?
Well, you're going to have to learn so much about so many different disciplines. Just overwhelming. Just the amount of stuff that we've picked up over time. It's just amazing.
Yeah. What would I tell myself?
It's a whirlwind.
Anything you would look at that you would do, mistakes and challenges are what shape us the most. What would you look back and?
I would tell myself to just trust your instincts, and that advisors aren't always right.
and they don't know when they're not right. I think it's kind of the key.
Yeah, we went down a road for several years in a growth to try to achieve a growth pattern that our advisors thought would be beneficial to us, and it was less profitable and really frustrating in many ways,
and difficult.
Yeah,
and the tools we had weren't the right tools to accomplish it.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of it was them trying to flatter us and telling us that, hey, you should be in a big box retailer, and we're just like, oh, okay, all right, we
guess we should.
Yeah, I guess we should. Let's try a big box, and that was an expensive mistake, So. And I don't know if somebody else could have done it better than we did, but I guess maybe for us it just wasn't the ideal marketplace.
It's risky for everybody. Everybody who does it is a challenge.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive. If anything that goes wrong, gets very, very expensive very, very quickly. So it's easy to lose a lot of money that way.
Can you talk about sales channels? Because I also think for inventors out there and founders, that's always an interesting one. Like, obviously, you've got e-commerce. You looked into the big box. have you done Amazon affiliates? Do you use resellers? What kind of channels have you developed over the years?
All of that.
Yeah, all of the above, and distributors overseas. We've worked with overseas agents as well, and yeah, we work with a lot of resellers domestically, internationally, and work with affiliates from all over the world as well. All of these channels are good. I think most of them, if you structure it properly, all of these can be very profitable and relatively inexpensive to set up. Whereas the big box they they nickel and dime every last thing sometimes.
It was this huge process of trying different things, finding the ones which work, and then devoting more resources to the ones that work, and doing this works, do more of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to ask, guys, we have a few minutes left here, but I would like to find out what is on the horizon for the business for, let's say, the next 12 months to 3 years.
We're always developing new products, and the latest one that we're wrapped up in is this. It grew from the idea our customers would always ask us, "What's the best thing to listen to?" And we would always, we would recommend things, but not too strongly, right? Because everybody wants to listen to something different, and some things are better than others, right? And we kind of developed this curiosity about what actually works best for what purpose. What sound track, what kind of sounds, what music or nature sounds work best for what. So we've developed a machine learning system to help us to really identify what works best for each purpose, and we call it Sleep Sounds by AcousticSheep, and it's something
you can download it for your phone.
Yeah,
it's free.
Something we're having a lot of fun with.
Mm-hmm.
And the best things are like something. If you develop a curiosity about something, that's probably what you're going to be best at creating or good at creating.
Yeah. So we have a lot of different types of music that goes into the background of this artificial intelligence system, the machine learning system that he's got.
A lot of different kinds of sounds.
Yeah. And it's and it learns over time what works and what doesn't work. So we're really, really excited about it because, imagine, if you can, there's actually finally a scientific process, right, to figure out what actually helps people sleep better.
And it's not just somebody's marketing or somebody's just assertion, right? We're trying to put real data behind it.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just, some scientist with 5 people in their sleep lab testing a particular sound.
Which has its drawbacks, right? Because
as
soon as you're in a sleep lab, you're in a very artificial environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a real world, you can apply this to your life today kind of a scenario.
As we're kind of closing up, I'm always interested, we're talking to tech founders, people that are really innovative, lots of new ideas. What do you see in the next 5 to 10 years being the most impactful technology or the thing that's going to be changing people's lives the most?
More machine learning and AI. And, finding new ways to relate those to physical products, I think is fascinating.
If you're in tech, though, one thing I do have to give a plug for is cybersecurity. Just really, really keep that always, as you're planning your development, that needs to be important.
You spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
That's great.
Very cool.
Well, this has been fantastic, guys. We really appreciate you taking the time. Before we go, obviously the website is sleepphones.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where else can our viewers, check you guys out, see what you're up to on social or otherwise?
Yeah, just search for SleepPhones. We're on pretty much all of the major platforms on social. And yeah, you can keep up with our stuff there, sign up for a newsletter, that type of thing. And sales will be delivered to your mailbox if you sign up.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Thank you both so much. We really appreciate it. Fascinating conversation. To our audience, we will see you guys next time. But thanks again, Wei-Shin and Jason. You guys have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, thanks
Happy
for
to be here.
joining.
Thanks.
Take care, everybody.